Supply chain security, when you think about it, it's Billy was talking about buzzwords. It is a big buzzword right now. Everybody, because of SolarWinds, it's everybody's talking about you got to have supply chain security. What is that? But what I think I want people to kind of take away here is that, with this security is such a huge landscape, and when you're trying to leave here and go, okay, can this happen to me? What do I need to think about? Where do I focus my attention? It's really on the kind of two big aspects that, one is supply chain security, and the other is really secure by design that Billy talked about briefly. But so first of all, let me explain what is supply chain security. It's not new, but what does that mean? It's really simply the insurance and the protection that you put in place in like the various layers of like your own business ecosystem that will sufficiently reduce the impact of a breach. So basically, it's just security in your supply chain. I mean, it's really easily said, but very hard to execute. So in this example here, one of the things that I think is really critical to understand and to kind of narrow the focus is one of the things that I get a lot from leaders is, okay, my business is big, it's complicated. Where do I start? I have no idea where to start. What do I do? What do I tackle first? So if you go back to kind of that heat map that we keep referring to back, or that you have those mega processes, well, if you take those mega processes and really all those are what are your kind of business critical work streams, right? So like if, for instance, like if you're in a bank, one of your critical work streams could be like ATM services, or if you're in hospitality, then one of your critical work streams could be reservation systems, right? So really the leaders of the organization should agree upon, okay, what are the top mega processes, critical business work streams? And then you take those and you focus your security and your protection and your secure by design initially there first. And you make the process digestible by doing that. So if you kind of look at this example here, I just kind of got two generic critical business work streams. So if you look at a supply chain based attack, you can see here we've got a supply chain. In that first example, the breach starts further back into the supply chain, and then it kind of progresses forward. One thing to note on here, as it progresses forward, you can see if you compare the two businesses on the end of the delivered service, the top one that has more of a secure by design model, which means layered security, security being thoughtful in the beginning and all of those things. Then you really have the breach impact is narrower. It doesn't project farther into the business ecosystem. It's contained. And when you look here, supply chain security, where it comes into effect into this first example, is that you don't have basically the vendor risk assessment kind of failed here. I would say maybe the vendors this particular work stream or these particular vendors, maybe they weren't researched well. Maybe they had security vulnerabilities where they couldn't actually stop the attack from happening before it reached the service, right? Sometimes it's completely avoidable, as we saw with supply chain. The SolarWinds attack. So in this particular example, you see that it started early in the change, but then but even though that it failed to stop in the different kind of points in this particular work stream, the end of the delivered services is that when it reaches your company, it is so contained that the impact is minimized. And whereas in the second example, this one we're saying, okay, this example, the actual breach happened later down the supply chain, but the breach impact was huge. It was explosive, right? And there's a lot of security gaps. There wasn't a really good way for the business to recover. And again, as they talked about earlier, some of the complexities with supply chain attacks is that it comes from trusted suppliers, right? These are businesses you already trust, so they have a way in. So just to kind of wrap this up, since we're out of time, one of some of the key takeaways that I would like you guys to think about this is that, or some of the things that I think as CEOs, you should be asking your leadership is basically, do we have a grasp on those mega processes? What are those? What are our risk priorities? What is the blast impact, right? Or the blast radius if something were to happen in our business against just those critical processes? Can we survive this? What's the financial impact? And are our investment strategies aligned with these critical business services.